Hello guys, it's goldiex here and welcome to my PS2 games I still play all the time video. Recently in my spare time I've been playing my PS2 quite frequently and it gave me a bit of a video idea. Make a video discussing some of the games I still play all the time on my PS2. Not only was the PS2 the first video game console I ever played in my life, but it could also be my favourite because it had so many great games on it. And also many of my all-time favourite gaming franchises were also born on this system. So the PS2 is certainly a video game system I hold in high regard and a system I still play loads today in my spare time. For this video I have picked 10 PS2 games that I still play constantly on the system and I thought it would be a great time to talk about them. Please note this is not a countdown or a top 10 list, this is just me discussing 10 PS2 games in no particular order that I still play to this day. Just before we begin I want to mention a few points before we start. Please be a bit mindful about the games that I pick because these are the PS2 games that I play frequently. I'm also not including any PS2 games that have been re-released in HD on other PlayStation consoles. So games such as Resident Evil 4, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet & Clank, God of War and Devil May Cry etc will not be on this list because despite these games being released on the PS2 first, I own these games on newer PlayStation consoles and as a result I do not bother playing these on the PS2 anymore. Also HD emulated PS2 games released on the PlayStation Store will not be in this list either as I play these on PS4 and PS5 instead of the PS2. Also one game per franchise only. With those points in mind, let's take a look at the first PS2 game. We all know Crash Bandicoot was a huge part of my childhood, so it's no surprise that I still own all the PS2 Crash Bandicoot games. But the one that really stood out to me was Crash Twinsanity because unlike Graphic Cortex and Nitro Kart, which felt too similar to the other previous Crash games on the PS1, instead Crash Twinsanity decided to do its own thing and it did it brilliantly. This game really did feel like an open world platforming Crash game which feels like it took a lot of inspiration from Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. This game in my mind is not as great as The Precursor Legacy, but this game still has its own charm. The humour was great, possibly the funniest Crash game I've ever played. The hub areas and different environments you explore are well detailed and packed with their own secrets and surprises. Great boss battles and great gameplay mechanics as this game allows you to play as Dr. Cortex himself as well as his beloved niece Nina. Each have their own playstyles which really help change the pace of the game and add so much different variety. If you ask me, my favourite thing about this game is the soundtrack. I listened to this game's soundtrack a lot on YouTube back in the day, and I still do now every once in a while if I'm being honest. And those segments where Crash can ride Cortex as a snowboard are some of the funniest and funnest levels I've possibly ever played in the Crash game. And when I boot this game up I always like to revisit these levels because they always put a smile on my face. This is a great Crash Bandicoot game. Hopefully one day we'll see a future Crash Bandicoot game one day with this open world style gameplay because this game just proves that open world Crash Bandicoot games really can work if done correctly. The Dead or Alive games are my favourite fighting games ever, and Dead or Alive 2 is no exception. Dead or Alive 2 is fun. My number 3 spot was not an easy decision as I almost could not pick between Burnout 3 Takedown and Burnout Revenge. In fact, I almost put both games in a spot because deciding which game was better was near fucking impossible. But in the end, I feel like Burnout Revenge is the pinnacle of the series and the first Burnout game I played, so in the end I had to go with Burnout Revenge. This is pure arcade racing perfection. The amount of times I've raged playing this game with the fun and brutal game modes this game offers is what makes this game so memorable. Road Rage being my favourite game mode where the main goal is to drive around and crash into many cars as possible to score points before time runs out. Crash mode is also fun and possibly the most iconic game mode in the series. I mean, come on. What's not to like about this game which has not already been said? The many cars you can choose to race in and take down other drivers with, the many different tracks you can race on with so many different game modes, certainly will keep race invested into still over the top but fun arcade racing game. This licensed soundtrack that accommodates the game is great to listen to while driving at insane speeds, taking everyone out in the process is such a nice feeling. I may prefer the Burnout 3 soundtrack, but Burnout Revenge still has a great soundtrack nevertheless. The multiplayer mode is fun and very over the top and can easily ruin friendships, so watch out. If you still own a PS2 and have not played Burnout 3 or Burnout Revenge, seriously give these games a shot, especially if you've loved racing games. Trust me, you really won't regret it. Number 4 is a bit of a cheat, I know, as there is a hidden HD port of this game hidden in Homefront The Revolution as an easter egg, but the amount of bugs and crashes present in the Homefront port of this game and the fact you had to input 3 different cheat codes to access the whole port is a bit of a mission at times. And the fact it's not a proper HD release in my eyes, I feel like I need to put this game on this list, as this is the PS2 game I revisit the most as well as the other 2 TimeSplitters games. I won't go into too much detail about TimeSplitters 2 as I spoke about why I love this game so much in my top 25 favourite games of all time video, so go check that out. But to sum this game up to you in some extent, it is one of the funnest old school style first person shooters you will ever play, with the satisfying gun combat, the memorable time periods and locations, the over top and wacky humour and of course the multiplayer modes. Easily the best PS2 multiplayer experience if you ask me. You will probably notice that I use this game's soundtrack a lot in my videos for the end cards. Why? because it fucking rules. Honestly, I would say this game has my favourite soundtrack on the PS2. I am seriously not kidding. The more and more I play this game, the more I just want to see a HD remaster of this game for modern consoles. Come on, Free Radical. Please give us a TimeSplitters HD collection already. I've been wanting this for years. Seriously, I am begging you guys to make a HD collection for TimeSplitters. It needs to happen someday. At number 5, we had probably the best open world racing game on the PS2. I almost put Underground 2 in this spot, but the more I think about Underground 2, the more I think about Most Wanted. So in the end, I had no choice but to pick Most Wanted. Need for Speed Most Wanted is a fun, action-packed racing game with so much fun racing content and a great licensed soundtrack. Plenty of racing modes to offer with street races, checkpoint races, elimination races, bounty missions, and so much more. Having the police on your tail in this game really spices up the difficulty and can lead to some of the most tense police chases ever seen in a racing game. I'm serious. But in the end, it is all worth it to make yourself the most notorious driver in the entire city and to win the heart of the ladies. Oh yeah. The plenty of customizable vehicle designs and vehicle upgrades really can change the pace of the game and can lead to such intense and blood-pumping police chases. And trust me, the police in this game really do not fuck about. They all try to catch you at whatever the cost. This is just a fun, fast-paced open-world racing game with plenty of police and challenges around almost every corner. I may prefer the 2012 Most Wanted because of the added Burnout elements and for the best licensed soundtrack ever, but still, the original Most Wanted still has a very special place in my heart and is a game I would recommend to every hardcore racing fan out there. Number 6 is possibly the most expensive and valuable PS2 game out there. I say that because I bought this game for £135 pre-owned. I am not making this up. But thankfully, I really enjoyed this game, which is lucky due to the amount of money I spent on this game. Persona 3 is a great RPG game with so much content and a huge story to offer you. Fantastic RPG gameplay, fantastic soundtrack, great cast of characters, a dark and twisted storyline to keep players engaged in its very lengthy story. Come on, it's a Persona game. Of course this game is amazing. This game, like the TimeSplitters series, is just begging for a HD re-release. Trust me, this game deserves one. Not a remake, because this game does not need a remake, because it still holds up remarkably. Just a HD release will do. Sorry for a short description, but this game really is as good as people say it is. Play Persona 3 if you're looking for a great but really expensive PS2 game, especially if you're looking for a new RPG to play. Just be wary of the cost. Every time I ask my college friends or people on the streets of my hometown what their favourite PS2 games are, 95% of the people I ask will always mention the Simpsons Hit and Run. Although I do think this game gets way too much recognition that it deserves, if I'm being honest, but still the Simpsons Hit and Run is a fun GTA style game and a game I love to revisit every now and then. Seriously, this is a GTA game but for a younger crowd, and it does a remarkable job of it. Exploring the open world Springfield with many familiar locations from the show to explore, many cars to hijack, missions to complete for other Simpsons characters, cars to destroy and races to participate in. This GTA clone is surprisingly fun and does a good job of standing out in its own right. The game's humour is great, exactly what you'd expect from a Simpsons episode, and fits perfectly within the story of the game. The story of this game is that Ross Cameron have invaded Springfield, and the Simpsons family as well as Apu must figure out what the hell is going on. A silly and over-the-top plot, I know, but a funny one nevertheless. I have so many memories from this game from when I played this as a kid all those years ago, and honestly I don't really regret much of it. It was a huge surprise this Simpsons game was a fun one considering the history of bad Simpsons games in the past. If you never owned this game back in the day during the 6th generation of consoles, you really have not lived if you have not played this game before. For my number 8 spot, shockingly, we have a movie license game, but this game fucking deserves a spot in this list because it's a great movie license game. Spiderman 2 I could possibly consider to be the best, one of the best movie license games ever made. This is how you make a superhero game. This game really makes you feel like a real life superhero and really nails the feeling of being Spider-Man. Webbing from building to building around New York City is so thrilling and realistic from the time this game's release. If I'm being honest, this game probably has the most accurate model of New York City for the year 2004. Jumping off the Empire State Building was fun and so nerve-wracking stupid, it did not matter because you are Spider-Man, who jumps and swings off buildings all the time. Leveling up Spider-Man to learn new abilities felt so rewarding every time you stopped a crime where you defeated the boss in the game. Interacting and helping people around New York felt so rewarding, offers so many different objectives to complete, and crimes to stop around the city with additional side stuff, so it really makes this game nail the feeling of being in New York, which is considered by many the city that never sleeps. The soundtrack was great, especially the pizza delivery theme. This game is a pure example of a movie license game and a superhero game done right. This is just a game I love revisiting every now and then because this game really never gets off me ever since I bought this game back in 2016. This really was Spider-Man at its peak until Marvel Spider-Man released on the PS4 many years later and took over that spot. Nicktoons Battle Volcano Island was my favourite PS2 game growing up, and I still play it loads to this day. To be honest, I won't go into massive detail about this game here, as I've already explained why I love this game in my top 25 video games of all time. So go check that video out if you want to see me go into more depth about this game. What I will say though is, out of all the PS2 games on this list, this game is probably the least likely to get remastered or got a HD release, as all the Nicktoons shows this game except SpongeBob are now discontinued. But Nickelodeon or Butch Hartman, if any of you are watching this video, please reboot Danny Phantom. I would love to see that show return for another season or two. I loved Star Wars as a kid. I may not love Star Wars as much as I did years ago, but I definitely rewatch some of the films every once in a while. Lego Star Wars was my childhood on the PS2, but the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 has been considered by many as the best Star Wars game of all time. I never owned this game as a kid, but I do have some memories of this game because my cousin was a Star Wars fanatic, and I have fond memories of my cousin playing this game, and I occasionally played this game with him. Many years later, I picked this game up from a game store, and the more I play this game now, the more I can see why this game is the best Star Wars game ever. And I'm a bit disappointed that I never tried to buy this game as a kid, and I missed out on this game all this time. This is one immense Star Wars game. It actually feels like you have stepped into the Star Wars universe, either as a clone, stormtrooper or Jedi, and this game captures the feeling of being in the Star Wars war zone perfectly. Exploring familiar planets and battlegrounds from the Star Wars universe will make any diehard Star Wars fan here feel right at home straight away, especially as you can play through some of the most iconic battles from the movie in this game. Playing as a clone or stormtrooper each have their own classes and unique playstyles, many game modes to play with your friends. This game just offers so much for the player to do. Playing as a Jedi feels so rewarding once you can play as a Jedi in the battlefield. This game does not just have battles on planets, this game also takes the Star Wars battles to space, where you can fly ships and blow up huge space bases. Many soundtracks from the Star Wars films return to make the soundtrack for this game. The game offers so many different game modes to play with your friends, and this game really captures the feeling of being in the Star Wars universe perfectly. This game is filled with Star Wars nostalgia, perfect for any Star Wars fan. If you ask me, this game still blows most Star Wars games out of the water for how diverse it is. So there you have it, 10 PlayStation 2 games I still play all the time to this day. If you still own a PS2, please be sure to let me know what PS2 games you still play today, or let me know what your favourite PS2 games are in the comments below. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you want to stay updated with all the videos uploaded to my channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.